I'm Nicholas Penrake, and you're listening to A Trader's Life, the podcast where I get to talk to successful traders about their approach to trading, how they started out and went from broke or breaking even to pulling in thousands of dollars a week. Trading is a tough game. They say only around 5% of those who try actually make a profit. Join me for A Trader's Life to glean some valuable insights from the market wizards I get to talk to. I have with me on the show today a man who says retail trading is a shambles. How does he know? Well, he's worked for major investment banks as a trader since 1994. If you want to get some insight into how the big guns work, stick around because Paul is happy to tell you. Hey, Paul, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad at all, buddy. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Hope your listeners here find something that's quite informative. Probably not going to be sort of something that you've heard of really in the past. Institutional trading is in itself a completely different animal to retail trading, and hopefully we can sort of lift the lid on the differences between some of the pitfalls that you can avoid. And any other topics that you want to discuss, buddy, you just ask away, and I will try and answer as best and as honestly as I can.
Yeah, good. Well, let's start at the beginning, more or less, or at least in terms of trading. How did you get into trading?
Well, my dad worked on the London Metal Exchange, which is the last open outcry market left in Europe. He was there for around about 35 years. He started off as a young guy and obviously worked his way up to, being the boss of the desk and things like that. So I kind of, was essentially born into it. At the age of 16, I just left school and, dad being dad, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? No bloody idea. I've just left school. So he basically said to me, look, you're going to come and work with me, for me. Not going to get paid, but I will get you, some suits and shirts and ties, and the likes. And you can come and get some, sort of work experience. Went there. To be honest, first day was complete chaos. There's 500 people shouting and screaming in a language that I didn't understand. Obviously, the markets have terminology. And first day, I didn't have a bloody clue what any of it was. It was, a baptism of fire, really.
Yeah. But did it give you a thrill?
It did. It did. It is one of those things where, as you got a little bit older, you just kind of said to yourself, wow, I'm doing a job that there's a really sort of small select group of people around the planet. But what we do is, it's very important in terms of, back then it was metals, very important in terms of setting prices for the rest of the planet. Within which that they would be buying and selling their own metal, whether it be a scrap dealer or somebody making scaffolding or something like that. Everything that we traded, essentially you'd look around and say, well, basically all of the metal that I see, if it's non-ferrous metals, all the metal that I see has basically been traded on the trading floor. That's all the copper pipes in your house, or or in your phones, in your laptops, in your computers, everything like that. And you thought, you know what, this is kind of a crazy job.
But awesome.
Yeah, and sometimes you'd walk out of the trading floor and it had been a particularly busy day. Your brain's dumped a ton of adrenaline into you, and but the bell goes at 5 o'clock and that's it. Everything's over. So either go home, go to the pub, or go back to the office.
So it's mostly down to the pub, wasn't it?
Mostly down to the pub, yeah. Mostly down to the pub. We got to get rid of that adrenaline, to be perfectly honest.
That's so true, isn't it? Yeah, gosh.
Yeah. But you'd walk out the trading floor and you'd just be walking down the road, and you'd all these other, hundreds of people passing you by and stuff like that, and you just say to yourself, "You've got no idea what kind of day I've had." It's very strange, if you've got accountants and secretaries and all people like that, and they're all doing some completely different jobs to you. But, It was
a very different world.
Yeah, totally different world, and sometimes very surreal.
Right. Yeah. Can you think of one example where surreal fits really well?
Yeah, massively. Massively. There was a big scandal basically back in the mid-90s, in the copper market, it was being manipulated by a trader for Sumitomo Bank. His name was Yasu Hamanaka, who was the head copper trader for Sumitomo Bank, Japanese bank. And at any one time, he controlled around about 5% of the world's copper reserves. Not reserves, but in LME warehouses, London Metal Exchange warehouses. He had a very, very big influence in the Far East with regards to copper. But he had been fiddling the markets over a number of years. And so one very early morning, we get a phone call from my dad's Japanese office. Not a usual occurrence to get a 4:00 phone call.
Yeah.
And so we both went downstairs and played back the message, and it was Hamanaka's been sacked. Things could get a little bit tasty in the morning. And so that morning, I was supposed to go and do my exams, which was the FSA exam back then. It's the FCA now, which would have basically allowed me to start to talk to clients. I was only still a young guy then, and you had to pass these exams in order to sort of progress your career.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I said to Dad, look, do you think it might be an idea if I actually go into the office this morning rather than go and do my exams? He said, yeah, I think they're going to probably need, as many bodies as possible. So arrived at the office around about 7:30 in the morning, and it was kind of like the calm before the storm, sorry. And it was like a little bit eerie. And then, kind of the market was just about getting ready to open at 8:00. And then all hell broke loose. That was when we were up in the basically what we call the pre-market. So this is us. We're sitting on the at our desks. The metal exchange itself opened at around about 11:30 in the morning, which was basically when we would all pile down, go to our booths, go to our offices and stuff on the trading floor. And I remember the first copper ring of the morning. I was giving a commentary back to our office, our New York office, and customers clients could dial in as well and listen to the commentary that I was giving. And I'll never forget it. I just said, right, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is going to get a little bit busy. And my God, it was pandemonium all day. I mean, we basically started, copper was trading at round about $3,000 a ton in the morning, and by the time we'd finished that day, it basically halved in value. Never
God.
seen, and this is just a ton of copper, never
Yeah.
seen a market so crazy. I remember that at one point, one of the senior traders where I was working, one of my dad's very good friends, he actually stood up and told everybody to just shut up because this is just ridiculous. Nobody can hear anybody. Right. It was just a complete, I mean, never to be seen again. Certainly, never ever saw anything like that again. It was just nuts. He told everybody to shut up and just said, right, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And what do you want to do? And what do you want to do? Because what we had then, and still the same now, is on the metal exchange, you're trading metals in 5-minute bursts. You have 2 sessions in the morning, 2 sessions in the afternoon, but we also had a time which we called the curb when we traded all the metals all at exactly the same time.
Okay.
So the copper market's going mad, everybody's going mad, and it literally just was pandemonium because nobody could understand what each other was saying, and volumes and volumes and prices, and it was just so noisy. So we just had to just basically just calm down and chill out. I don't think anybody went out for lunch that day, which again was a massively rare occurrence. Nobody went to the pub or anything like that. It was kind of all hands to the pump, and you just kind of walked out of there that afternoon, early evening, in a daze.
Yeah, like after a battle or something.
Yeah, exactly. You've been punched in the head by Mike Tyson. It was just absolutely bananas.
Did it carry on into the week, or did it calm down a lot within a day or so?
Yeah, I mean, it was still busy, but it did kind of calm down a bit. Then things sort of started to unravel. the company that I worked for, which was Credit Lyonnais. You can go and look this up on the internet, anybody that's interested. We were one of the parties that he was clearing a lot of his business through. So we were very much under the microscope. So we had the BBC, ITV, Sky, all of these news, they were all outside the building and stuff like that. And we were told in no uncertain terms we were allowed to talk to them. So you go out. I mean, that was surreal as well. You go out, you've got all these bloody journalists and camera crews, trying to jump on top of you and stuff like that. Yeah, it was really weird. A crazy time. But no,
so you started in commodities, metals mainly, obviously, and then moved on to forex.
Moved on to basically, I mean, there's two definitions of a trading floor. I think when people look at trading floors these days, they kind of just see an office. For me, trading floor literally means you're not in the office; you're actually physically on a trading floor.
Yeah.
So, but by this time, a little bit later on, I kind of was working for now a company called Sugden Financial. Sugden, as we were known as then, Sugden Financial now. And I was employed by somebody that was essentially self-employed to go and work with him, but under the umbrella, under the banner of Sugden. And he had a sort of variety of different clients. So some were trading base metal, some were trading precious metal, some were trading foreign exchange. And he just kind of, again, what people have got to realise is, all markets are traded in the same way. It's price and it's value. And that's what matters. All of these weird and wonderful things that came into being in the mid-90s, with computing power, algorithms and all things like this, being able to track things very, very closely on charts. It was never anything that we used, because it just came down to price and value. So the FX market is traded under that same banner as precious metals, which is the same as base metals, which is the same as oil, which is the same as stocks and shares. Price and value. One of the real major things I think that people forget when it comes to trading is how commerce actually works around the planet, and that always has come down to price and value. Is a very, very prevalent thing, but it's really strange when it comes to trading that people kind of take that hat off and put on this crazy hat and say, right, no, the world is made up of chart patterns, trend lines, and the use of indicators and Fibonacci levels and Bollinger Bands and VWAP and this, that, and the other. And it's just not. That is there. There's analytical tools within which banks produce reports that go out to clients, which induce clients into trading, which is how banks make their money, because they're not trading from the same places as they're telling their clients that this is where they're trading from. So yeah, a little bit perhaps underhanded, but at the end of the day, business is business. The banks are in the business to make money. Whether it's commercial banking or investment banking, the ultimate goal is to make money. And you have to think of the end game at the end of the day. One of the real big pitfalls, as we sort of discussed when we just had a little chat before, one of the real big pitfalls is that your broker also has to make money. That's a big thing for him. Has to make money. If you're sitting at a desk at a bank, it's in the vested interest of the bank to show you how to make money, to make it as easy for you to make money, because the ultimate end game is to make as much money as possible. The end game for a retail broker is to also make as much money as possible. But how would you do that? You purposely miseducate people into doing the wrong things. So if you did that, then you've got nigh on a perfect business model where if you have, retail traders and they are, let's just say they took 10 trades, they got, 2 right and 8 wrong. I mean, what's the broker going to do? He's just going to trade against you all the time. He'll take the hit on the 2, knowing that they're going to get, a bigger percentage of you losing than you winning. And it's just one of the ways that they make money. But, at the end of the day, you have to think about the end game.
Yeah. For sure.
It's mad. You have to really, really take a step back and think, and not just get totally engrossed in what you're doing. So this is why trading books, videos on YouTube, articles on Google, all of this kind of stuff you just have to literally just pick it up, throw it in the bin, because it's not designed to ever make you any money. It's only designed to make the broker money. And of course, you
Or
don't
the
want to be,
guru. Yeah.
you don't want to be, you don't want to be their best mate, do you? You don't want to get a Christmas card. Dear Mr. Smith, thank you for being such a valued client this year. Happy Christmas. P.S. Thanks very much for the 10 grand.
Yeah.
You don't want to be
exactly.
on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is trading really about from your experience? Talk us through whatever you can reveal as to your experience and seeing
Well,
it from the inside.
yeah, I mean, what you've got to think about is everybody's taught that the market is chaotic, that it's completely a zero-sum game. I mean, that's just rubbish for a start. People are taught that it's very difficult to make money, that some people will make it and other people won't. But basically, what they're saying is that the market is unpredictable. Now, I would suggest that that is an absolute load of crap. Because if you don't have predictability in markets, how on earth is anybody going to make any money when they've got no idea where the market's going? So there has to be order amongst perceived chaos.
Yeah.
And so if I was to suggest to people that the banks have been using the same levels to trade from for decades, the only thing that changes about them is value over time, then you would start to see and start to understand that no, the market isn't random. There is a structure there, but it's hidden
In plain sight.
right in front of
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it's hidden in plain sight. It's right in front of you. But this is the thing: if you have been directed to look for chart patterns, trend lines, this, that, and the other, that's what you're focused on. You're not focused on price, and you're not focused on value. And again, that's where people fall down. When you trade, you want to get rid of bias. You don't want to be bullish or bearish. The market doesn't know who you are, doesn't know what you think, doesn't know the analysis that you've done, and it certainly isn't going to move on the basis of analysis that you've done. You have no control over it. You have no influence over it, and quite frankly, you never will. So stop trying to fight against it. You want to take things back, strip things away. Any indicators you got, throw them in the bin. Chart patterns that you're looking for. Let's be perfectly honest. If you can only tell me once a chart pattern's completed, what is the point? The horse has already bolted. If you could tell me when it was going to start, that would be fantastic. But you can't. So again, got to throw that in the bin. It's so far and away from retail trading, but it's far simpler. That's the thing. It's very, very simple. I mean, as I was explaining to you, a little bit earlier, the London Metal Exchange opens when 1877. So I'm just going to say, if you just took a biro pen, something that we take for granted every day in our life, just a simple biro pen, if you'd have taken that back to 1877, what would their reaction have been? What the hell's this? This is like magic, right? So going back then, I mean, the Metal Exchange is still going today. It's 2020. How on earth did that market grow to be the world's biggest non-ferrous metals market? How did those people trade? Well, it can't have been using what as retail traders perceive markets. It can't have been using any of these techniques because they simply didn't exist. So it must have come down to price and value, and nothing's changed. Nothing's changed at all. The analytical world has changed, but an analyst is an analyst and a trader is a trader, and they're in two totally separate departments within a bank.
Yeah. So what should a trader be looking for on charts, and how far back should they?
As much history as possible.
Yeah.
Because again, you have to see the big picture, and you never see, what's coming if you're just focused on the microcosm. If you're focused on very short-term time frames and stuff like this, you're never going to see what's coming. And if you're standing in the way when that juggernaut's coming, mate, you're just going to get run over. But the worst thing is you're not even going to understand why.
Yeah.
It's very much a case of, like I say, if you are looking for the wrong things and you're going to be doing that all the time, don't be surprised that you don't get the answers that you're looking for, because you have to understand that from the retail trading side of things, the odds have been against you since you've opened up your first chart. Because if you don't understand the rules of a game, you shouldn't really be engaging until you do. Which some people might find that a little bit arrogant, but I've been doing this for 26 years, so I kind of like to think I know my onions. It's a case of stepping back and just thinking, end game. There are people out there that do this for a living. How do they do it? What's different? And it's
yeah,
price and value. We're not interested in all of these weird and wonderful analysis techniques. That's for the analysts to take care of. Produce reports and send out to clients. We have absolutely zero interest in what they're doing. But I mean, it's just such a different world. But like I say, very, very important that if you do not understand how these markets function, and quite frankly, you shouldn't be trading.
yeah.
And I don't want that to come across as arrogant. I'm just trying to help people to just say, whoa, hold on. I've tried all these bloody things. None of them ever seem to work. Why? Because they're not based upon the reality of what's actually really happening in the market. Because it just comes down to price and value. And if you understand how institutions approach trading, then you're in a much better position. And I really don't want that to come across as arrogant or stuck up or whatever. It's just me.
Yeah, you've got the
Basically,
experience, and you've seen it from
yeah,
inside, as it were. So
yeah.
yeah. So when did you decide to pull away from sort of working for institutions, or I don't know, maybe you still do to a certain extent, but you set up your own sort of mentoring
Yeah,
program.
I mean, I left in '09. Financial crisis and all that.
Yeah,
Just decided that I'd had enough, really. To be perfectly honest,
yeah,
that was another extremely busy time. In the financial crisis, going through there was absolutely crazy. I mean, I often
yeah.
ask people as well, you know, during that financial crisis, I say to them, look, on the euro, what do you think the widest spread was that I saw on the euro during the financial crisis? People say 100 pips, people say 5 pips, 50 pips, whatever. I say no, it's half a pip. They go, what?
Oh,
How the hell does that work? Half a pip.
yeah,
It's the widest spread you saw on the euro. Yeah. There's so much business going through, and I mean so much that the price they can't widen,
yeah,
you know. And with that, and going through that, and that was obviously the second bloody crisis that I'd been through. After the Sumitomo one, I just thought, you know what, I can't be bothered anymore.
yeah.
I know what I'm doing. I might as well just go and do it for myself. So I did that, and then kind of fell into teaching. Was never anything I sort of really ever sort
Set
of
out to do. Yeah, you just
set out to
kind of
do.
fell into it. Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of fell into it, but then found out, I actually enjoyed it.
yeah,
And it's nice to be able to pass on knowledge. I'm not one that goes out and does advertising, this, that, and the other. Mail shots and bloody this, whatever people do in
yeah,
advertising. I don't do anything like that. I just, I'm just on LinkedIn. Have done a previous couple of podcasts, trying not to say the same things, if you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I mean, the response was really, really nice. Got quite a lot of people, getting in contact just to say thank you so much for just not spouting the same rubbish as everybody else, and for actually giving me something to really think about. It was and is such a lovely thing to put people on the right path,
yeah,
and show them that you can do this properly. But now the rules of the game. It's a completely different animal.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a completely different animal, and it is lovely for um, for people that not everybody stays in contact. People are people, mate. At the end of the day, you know what it's like. All right, John, we haven't seen each other for 5 years. Oh, we must go and have a beer, and then you don't see him for another 5 years. These
yeah,
things tend to happen.
yeah, yeah,
So not everybody keeps in contact, but no, the ones that have, it's just been a beautiful experience just to say, you've made a difference, and it's nice. But
yeah, yeah. So how do you do it? Do you do it in a small group or one to one?
no,
How does it
yeah,
work?
one to one, exactly,
Yeah,
one to one. I can only ever do it in a one to one situation, I think, because that's the best way that people learn.
yeah,
Because everybody learns at different paces. Everybody's mind works in a different way, and it's soaking up that information and then sort of putting it into practice. But yeah, always one to one. Because at any point, if anybody doesn't understand something, you can always just say, "I don't understand. Can you explain it again, or use a different example?" Of course, if you've got a video or a book or something that you're reading, or something that you're watching, it doesn't matter how many times you go over it. If you didn't understand it in the first place, you're going to be sitting there saying to yourself, "Well, I didn't understand that. I'm 10 minutes down the line now. Am I really actually understanding what this person's saying to me now?" Probably not.
Is it like once a week with somebody, each student, for want of a better word?
Yeah, I generally suggest a couple of sessions a week. I think the brain needs time to assimilate the information that it's just been fed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do it across 10 hours. So I would never do 10 hours straight with somebody because I just think, they'd probably get bored of the sound of my voice after a while.
Well, I think your head would
You
go
know,
off. It's a bit frying, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
taking all the information in.
yeah, and you just, you wouldn't soak it all up. So yeah, I mean, I generally suggest you have one on a Monday, have one on a Wednesday or a Thursday and stuff like that, just so that the brain's got time to just, take it in, compute, and then say, right, okay, I've understood that. Let's move on. Um,
Yeah,
so
and is
yeah,
that over the course of, I don't know, 6 weeks, 10
yeah,
weeks? What?
5 or 6
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah,
And by the time you sort of get to the end of it, people are in a position where they can go out and trade. I mean, it's 10 hours might not sound a lot in the beginning, but I mean, blimey, it's amazing how fast you can learn when you cut out all of the crap and actually focus on what you should be learning as opposed to what you shouldn't be learning. And I've had
absolutely. Yeah,
many, many people that have come to me and said, look, this just doesn't work, does it? I'm never going to make any money out of this. I just say, look, let's just sit down and let's just go through it, discuss, um, what it is that you've been doing as opposed to somebody like myself would be doing. Let's just sit down and let's just think about it. I mean, I had one guy um, who messaged me a few years ago. I won't say his name, but he was a lovely guy to work with. He was a big record producer back in the day, 90s and 2000s.
yeah.
Not short of a few quid. Very candidly told me that over a 10-year period of trying to learn how to trade, he'd spent over £100,000 on
Oh,
various courses, this, that, and the other.
wow.
And I said to him, "Well, how the hell did you find me?" Because I don't do any advertising or anything.
Yeah.
He said, "I'll be perfectly honest with you." He said, "Yesterday," he said, "don't forget I've been doing this 10 years." He said, "Yesterday, I typed into Google that Forex trading is bullshit." And
Brilliant.
he said, "One of your LinkedIn articles came up." Right. I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
"Brilliant. Got Forex and bullshit in the title. Thanks to Google. It's a nice bit of free advertising." Um, he said, "So I read through that." And he said, "That's really, to be honest with you, the only thing that ever made sense in the last 10 years. So I want you to basically teach me what you know." Um, and so we got down to, the nitty gritty in the first session, got to the end of it. And I said, "So what do you think?" So he said, "You are a blank, blank, blank." I
Okay.
said, I
Yeah,
said, I said, "Brilliant.
yeah.
Why?" He said, "Well, like I said, I've been doing this 10 years and I've spent over 100 grand trying to learn how to trade." And he said, "And in less than an hour, you've taken every single thing I thought to be true about the market and you've basically picked it up and thrown it in the bin." He said, "That's crazy. That has been sitting in front of me for 10 years and I never noticed,
Yeah.
never ever noticed." And it's just changing people's perception. For some people, it's going to be a real hard reset. For other people, it will be like, you know, just that little epiphany moment, that little eureka
Yeah.
moment where it's like, oh, oh, okay. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Price and value makes a lot of sense. Why? Because that's who you are. That's how you perceive the world. I gave you the example in the chat that we had just prior to this, but any guys or girls or whatever, out there, when you're showing your partner something that you wish to purchase or that they wish to purchase, right? Maybe you're on Amazon or whatever. Um, you point at the picture because this is the thing you want to buy. You point at the picture. Where's your partner look? Your partner looks at the price, immediately makes a snap decision in their mind. Well, that's cheap enough, conversation can continue. Well, that's too expensive, conversation over. And you do that in a millisecond. Why? Because that's what you've always done. That's how human beings perceive things in the world. It's a price. What's the value of this price? in comparison to the thing that you want to buy. And so if you apply that to markets as well, what you're going to find is that it makes sense. And people often say to me, "Oh God, I can't believe how much sense this makes." It's like, well, it should do, because this is what you do in your everyday life. But like I say, it's just very strange when it comes to trading that people forget that goes out the way, and all of this other rubbish just comes in and just clouds your judgment. And just can't stress enough, that is not how trading is done at all.
How long did it take you to learn it from your mentors, I guess, for want of a better word?
Well, I mean, on the metal exchange, you can't trade until you're 21. So, I mean, I started at the age of 16. So basically started off there being a clerk on the trading floor, which is recording the traders' deals and stuff like that, and making sure that, everything's in order.
Yeah.
His positions are all, correct and stuff like that. We had things called a card. You make sure that the card is all right. That's an accumulation of all of the open positions that you have, all things like that. But yeah, I mean, sort of training really sort of started on day one. You then kind of progress along. I mentioned I was going to go and do those exams eventually. Got round to doing those, which enabled me then to speak to clients. On the phone, trade on behalf of clients and things like that. And then, again, the natural progression after that is, well, then you become a trader. Yeah. So I mean, it was always ongoing. It's not as if you go to a bank and they go, right, okay, sit down. We're going to send you on a trading course. And when you get to the end of the trading course, you get this certificate or whatever. You have your picture taken and everything like that. I mean, if that happened in any investment bank, God, the piss taking would be absolutely ridiculous. I mean, bad enough as it is, but I mean, that would just take it to a brand new height,
Yeah.
Because, of course, things like that don't happen. And you get courses out there that say they're certified. Certified by who?
Yeah.
Right? Certified by who? There is nobody out there, that certifies trading courses. There's no regulatory body. I mean, that's a big thing. Any idiot, basically, that's watched a load of stuff on YouTube or Google or read books or stuff like this, they can go out there and proclaim that this is what happens at the banks and this is how the banks trade and blah 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 blah. And of course, they've never worked there. How on earth are they supposed to? How are they supposed to teach you what happens when they've never had any of experience of it themselves? So real life on the job education, like, happens in any walk of life. It's kind of like I don't know, you come out of university or college or school or whatever, and you've passed all of these exams, and then you go to work, and on day one, you very quickly realise you know nothing. You know absolutely nothing about what you're doing. So you have to be taught. And for me, yeah, it was just literally you're picked
So
up, thrown in at the,
osmosis. Yeah.
yeah, you picked up and thrown
Absorbing
in at
it.
the deep end.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's a typical day look like for you, Paul? In terms of time teaching, time trading, time listening to the
Well,
news, reading the
well,
news.
yeah. I mean, we try not to watch the news these days because it's all just
Yeah. Yeah. It's
about
all
the
a
same
bit
bloody
depressing, isn't
thing. But
it?
there we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
we won't mention that in the interview and try and
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
2020 behind us.
Yeah.
But a typical day, I don't know. Get up, have a look at the markets. Anything moved? Any trades kicked in? Yes, no. Nothing's kicked in. Not an issue. I'm just going to wait. The great thing is these days, obviously, we got smartphones and technology. You can link various things in, and it will tell you, when your trades have opened. Time trading during the day. Well, this isn't trading every day.
No.
This is only trading when you get to particular levels.
Yeah.
So time spent in front of a screen is actually very minimal. Because if the market is not where you want it to be, then you have absolutely zero interest in trading it. Again, I think so many people fall foul of just sitting in front of screens all day,
Yeah.
and trying to analyze and overanalyze and micromanage. And do you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
problem is, trading is not like real life. Real life is the more hours you work, the harder you work, you get, better pay. Doesn't work with trading. The more you trade, your broker's just sitting there rubbing his hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more,
Exposing yourself more. Yeah.
yeah, right. So you don't want to be doing that. You want to be very selective in what you're doing. which means that you're not trading every day, because not every day is a trading day anyway. In terms of news and things like that, we want to essentially really avoid the news as much as we can, because the banks aren't trading it.
Yeah. What? Give us one example of a sort of tip-off that makes you think, right, that could be a good day to trade. A bit of
Well,
news, something from the
it's
banks, for example.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If you're looking at the news, you're looking at fundamentals, you're understanding, why essentially a market is moving. You're not going to know when is the day to trade. That's the thing. That's market dependent. That's not down to you. You can't influence, where you want the market to go. So the way in which I teach people, obviously, which I showed you earlier, and what my charts look like. So I have a roadmap, and my roadmap tells me where I want to trade from before the market actually gets there. And I want to trade from that level. Why? Well, because I've gone back over, decades worth of data. And I've said to myself, right, this is where I can see that the major movements have come from. And it always seems to keep coming from the same places. The only thing that changes about this is the value. So that's where I want to trade from. And so, like I say, if the market is where I want it to be, trade. If it isn't, I'm not interested.
Yeah. It's an
But
important point, isn't it? I mean, a lot of making money on as a trader is about knowing when not to trade as
yes,
much as when to trade.
yes, very
Yeah.
much so. I think a lot of people get frustrated because they're kind of sold a dream that essentially turns into a nightmare. Then they start getting
Yeah.
really emotional about it.
Yeah.
Bias comes in, emotions come in. You're always trying to chase a loss. At the end of the day, you have to just sit there and compartmentalize it as much as you can. You say, right, well, I took that training, it didn't work. Okay, fair enough. Doesn't mean I'm going to go and jump into another one straight away. Why? Because you're all over the place mentally.
Yeah.
You've got essentially, really, you've got to,
You're just reacting, basically, aren't you?
yeah, you're reacting, and you're reacting to something again that you can't control. I mean, I gave you a great example of that. Let's just imagine John Smith at number 3 Occasioneer Avenue, right? He's never heard of supply and demand trading. Price and value are not something that really sort of enters into his mindset, because he's been taught chart patterns, trend lines, and indicators.
Yeah.
So he's been sitting there for a couple of hours, and he's up and down on the charts, and he says to himself, right, boom, that's where I'm going to buy the euro. And so he sits there and he waits, and it comes down to that level when he's in. And you say, okay, Johnson, why did you buy it there? Because the market's going to go up. How do you know? Well, I did the analysis. Yeah, but you do know the market doesn't know who you are. It doesn't know what you think. And it doesn't know where you want the market to go. Yeah, but it's going to go up. Okay, John, good luck with that. And so
Yeah.
he buys, and then the market doesn't go up, it drops. And he thinks to himself, well, all right, look, it's only me. I am only John Smith. I am a retail trader. Maybe I got my entry slightly wrong. What I should be doing here is I should be buying again. I'll get a better average price. And when the market goes up, how do you know it's going up, John? I did the analysis. Yeah, but you do realise, shut up, it's going up. So he buys again, and of course it doesn't go up, it goes down. And at that point, he says to himself, right, we'd be an absolute idiot not to buy here. So he buys again.
And it keeps going down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll make
Yeah.
triple the profit, right?
Yeah.
I'll make triple the profit. I'll get a much better average price. Right. John, how do you know the market's going up? Because I did the analysis. Yeah, but you do realise I don't want to hear it. The market's going up. But it doesn't, it goes down. So at this point, he's now sitting there thinking, crap, I've got 3 trades, they're all going offside. Right, first thing, delete all the stop losses. Right? Delete the stop losses and pray.
Right. Yeah.
Pray that
Oh dear.
market doesn't keep going down and you blow your account up.
Yeah.
That it will go up and you can actually get back out for break even. Thing is, he has no concept of why that market's going down. Price and value. The people that set the valuations, i.e., the institutions, have made a decision that that particular, currency, commodity, or whatever, is now overvalued. Yeah, now it's overvalued. We want to sell it because we think it's expensive.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there thinking to himself, well, what the hell? Why is this happening to me? Why does this keep happening to me? Because he doesn't understand the rules of the game. He's not heard of levels that have been traded for decades. He's not really incorporating price and value into his trading. He's gone down the route of becoming an analyst. And of course, if an analyst isn't a trader, what the hell is the point in using analysis techniques to discover something that's already happened that you can't do anything about?
Yeah. Just a
So,
bit like hindsight, isn't it?
yeah,
Everything's clear then. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
good old Harry Hindsight, he always makes money.
Yeah.
If only I'd have done that there. If only I'd have done that there. But I mean, again, using all of this stuff on a chart, if you're flicking through different time frames, all the information changes. So which one is it that you should be following? If it says on my hourly chart I should be selling, but it says on my daily chart I should be buying, what one are you supposed to do?
And do you mostly use the bigger time frames? It sounds like you do monthly, weekly, and daily.
Basically, just looking at as much data as possible to understand what that chart is actually telling you, and just understanding as well what a chart actually is. It's just a graphical representation of human interaction in a particular market over a course of many years. That's
Yeah.
all it is, right? So if you can understand the story that is being told to you on the chart, right, like a language, once you can decode that and you can really notice on a chart where the same things have been occurring time and time and time and time again, that's where you want to be trading from,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
time itself, really, as a concept, doesn't really come into it. It's like, right, where can I see interaction at particular prices? Doesn't matter when it happened, just the fact that it did happen. And the fact that it keeps happening from the same places over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So time as a concept, not really something that I would, sort of think about. Like, when we went through the chart earlier, so that's what I said. This is a timeline. I'm looking for interaction. I don't care if it happened in, 1986, 1997, 2006, 2020. It doesn't. That makes no odds. It's just right. This price here. How many times have we reached it? What's happened when we've reached it? Has it been repeated over decades? Yes. Right. That's where I want to trade from. I want to trade from anywhere else. But again, when it comes to that, people, you stick a chart on a monthly chart and people go, what the hell are you looking at that for? There's so much else that's been going on. Did it change value? Yes or no? That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Did it change value? Yes or no?
Yeah. Key recurring patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's unsubscribing from any forums or any brokerages or any things to do with trading. It's just unsubscribe for me. Unsubscribe from YouTube. Stop reading trading books because they don't never mention price and value.
Yeah.
It's all about this is a double top, this is a double bottom, this is a shooting star, this is a pin bar, this is this and this is that. Rubbish. I've got no interest in the shape of candlesticks whatsoever. Imagine a world where candlesticks didn't exist. How on earth would people trade then? Because I certainly didn't use candlesticks when I was working at a bank. It's just a line on a chart. That's all it is. And it just shows me price.
Yeah. Do you look at candlesticks, or do you turn everything round to a graph structure or some
Well,
line?
I teach people on candlesticks. Really, the only reason I do that is because I think most people are very, very familiar with them. So they understand the concept of them.
Yeah.
And visually, when you look at it, it really helps to sort of understand what I go through, sort of during the course. But I mean, after that, once you've got it and it's in your mind, you can just go, well, let's just have a look at it without candlesticks. Oh, could I trade that? Yeah, of course I bloody could. Look, you know,
Yeah.
this is where we are. So, it's not, you know, candlesticks aren't the be all and end all, but they do make it easy or easier, I should say,
Yeah.
for people that understand and process what it is that I'm saying.
Yeah. 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 So how do people find you, Paul?
I'm on LinkedIn. I do have a website, which is paulscottfx.com. Please don't expect anything flash because that's not what you're going to find. Again, Paul Scott FX. I'm on there. Like I say, I've done a couple of podcasts before, which you can find on the website. Thank you very much for having me on this one. It's been, lovely to be on. Email is paul@paulscottfx.com. Also, if you go over to the website, I do have my phone number on there. So if anybody wants to get in contact, send me an email, chat over the phone or whatever, please feel free. But just don't expect me to pull any punches, because I don't. Because let's be honest, the world's full of crap. What's the point in adding to the pile at the end of the day?
Well, quite, yeah. No, it's refreshing. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Paul. It's been very interesting. Yeah, great to touch base with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, buddy. Well, just thanks to everybody out there for listening. If you made it towards the end, well done. Go and get yourself a beer and
and then give me a call.
Yeah, exactly. I'll sit down and look at the charts and just try and decode what I've been saying.
Exactly. All right. Nice one, Paul. Thanks.
Thanks ever so much.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
I was talking just now to trader Paul Scott, and you've been listening to A Trader's Life. Thanks for joining us.